John slowly opened his eyes, feeling disoriented. His head throbbed, and his vision was blurry as he tried to focus on the unfamiliar surroundings. The room was dimly lit, with the soft light filtering through the blinds. He could hear the faint of a fan in the corner and the rustling of trees outside the window. His bed felt strange, softer than usual, almost like he wasn't in his own home. He tried to move, but something was off. His body felt heavy, and a weight pressed down on him. His heart skipped a beat as he realized there was someone on top of him. Panic surged through him, and he tried to push the stranger off, but the woman remained unmoving. Her body warm against his. Confused and startled, John's mind raced. Who was this woman? What was she doing here? I hadn't invited anyone to his apartment, let alone allowed them to invade his space like this. He struggled to sit up, but her presence was firm. She was strong, but not threatening. There was something calming in the way she remained still, not speaking, not reacting to his distress. Who are you? John managed to croak, his voice hoarse. From sleep and panic, the woman finally lifted her head and looked into his eyes, her expression calm, almost serene. She had long, dark hair that framed her face perfectly, her eyes an unsettling shade of blue that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. She wasn't dressed like a regular housekeeper, not in any uniform John had ever seen. Instead, she wore a simple outfit, but there was something about her that was undeniably different, almost otherworldly. I'm sorry, she said softly, her voice smooth and reassuring. I didn't mean to startle you. John blinked in disbelief. Startle me? You're on top of me and I wake up like this? What are you doing here? She paused for a moment before responding. I'm your new housekeeper. My name is Lyra. I've been assigned to take care of you. John's heart pounded in his chest. He had hired a new housekeeper just a few days ago, but this wasn't normal. Assigned to take care of me? He repeated, still struggling to make sense of the situation. What do you mean, assigned? Lyra's expression remained unchanged, but John couldn't help but notice the slight tension in her shoulders. She seemed to hesitate before answering. It's like there was more to the story than she was letting on. You've been selected, she said quietly. You're not like other people, John. There's something special about you. John's mind raced? Special? What did she mean by that? He wasn't anyone special. He was just an ordinary guy with an ordinary life, or so he thought. He had no idea who she was or what she was talking about. I don't understand, John muttered, shaking, his head in disbelief. What are you talking about? Why are you here? Lyra sighed softly, her gaze never leaving his. I know this is a lot to take in, but I need you to listen. You're not just a regular person, John. Your past, your connection to certain events. It's all been planned. And now, your presence is more important than you can imagine. John's confusion deepened. Planned. What are you talking about? Who are you really? Lyra took a deep breath, as though preparing herself for the next part of the conversation. I'm not just a housekeeper. I've been sent here for a reason. I'm part of a mission, and I'm here to make sure you're safe. But you need to trust me. There's a lot you don't know about yourself, John. John's head was spinning. He couldn't make sense of what she was saying. Is this some kind of joke? Maybe he had been dreaming. But the weight of her body on top of him felt too real. And the look in her eyes, something about it told him that she wasn't lying. She was serious. This wasn't just some coincidence. I don't get it, John said, his voice shaking with frustration. What kind of mission? Why me? Ain't just a guy trying to live my life. Lyra's eyes softened, and she leaned back slightly, giving him a little more space. I understand that this is hard to believe, but you have a role to play in something much bigger than yourself. Your life, John, it's about to change in ways you can't even imagine, and I'm here to help you through it. John's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, trying to process everything she had just said. None of it made sense. How could he be part of something bigger? He was just a regular guy with no special talents or abilities. He had no idea why this woman was claiming all these things about him. Was she crazy, or was he? What do you mean by role to play? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Lyra's lips curved into a small, mysterious smile. That, John, is something I can't explain just yet, but soon you'll understand. The room felt colder suddenly, and the weight of what she had said hung heavily in the air. John wanted to argue, to push her off and demand answers. But there was something about her, something he couldn't place, that made him hesitant. And so, as he lay there, staring into Lyra's calm, unwavering eyes, a sense of foreboding settled over him. Whatever was happening, whatever she was involved in, it was only the beginning. And the more he thought about it, the more he realized that his life was about to change forever. But was it for better or for worse? John sat in the dimly lit room, his mind still struggling to process the bizarre encounter. He glanced at Lyra, who was now seated on the edge of the bed, looking calm and composed as though their strange introduction had not rattled her at all. She didn't seem bothered by his disbelief or by the fact that she had just invaded his personal space in the most shocking way possible. It was as if she was waiting for something he wasn't sure he was ready to understand. "You still haven't explained why you're here," John said, his voice steadier than he felt. He was trying to regain control of the situation, trying to make sense of what was happening. "What do you mean by you're here to protect me?" "Protect me from what? Or who?" Lyra didn't answer right away. She just stared at him for a moment, her eyes piercing as if reading the depths of his soul. Then, with a sigh, she leaned forward slightly. "You're not who you think you are, John, and I'm not who I appear to be." John's heart raced as her words sank in. "What does that even mean? You're not just a housekeeper? Then who? Are you really?" She stood up slowly, her movements fluid and graceful. It was almost as if she wasn't entirely bound by the same rules as everyone else. There was a sense of purpose in her actions, something far beyond the ordinary. She walked across the room, her back turned to him as she stared out the window, her face reflecting a kind of sadness, as though she was burdened by something he could never understand. "I'm not just a housekeeper," she said again, but this time her voice held a weight of truth. "I'm part of a mission, John, a mission that spans far beyond Earth, beyond your understanding. I've been sent here to guide you, to protect you, and to make sure you are ready for what's coming." John's head was spinning. Is this a dream? Some kind of twisted fantasy? But the more he looked at her, the more he felt like it was real. She didn't seem like someone who would make up such outlandish stories. There was a calm certainty in her presence, a quiet confidence that made him believe she wasn't lying. Even if he couldn't wrap his mind around it, ready for "What?" he asked, his voice shaky. "I'm just a guy, regular guy. I don't have any special abilities, or you have something," she interrupted, her voice sharp like a teacher correcting a student who didn't understand the basics. "Something inside of you, something hidden, and that's why I'm here." John blinked. "Hidden? What do you mean?" "I don't understand. Are you saying there's something inside me that makes me ... special?" Lyra turned to face him, her eyes filled with a mix of regret and determination. "Special, but it's not something you've been aware of. It's something that's been buried deep, kept secret from you for your own safety." John shook his head, trying to process what she was saying. "This is insane. You're saying there's something about me that's different from everyone else?" She nodded, stepping closer, her expression now softened, almost apologetic. "I know this is hard to believe, but it's the truth. Your bloodline, your genetic makeup, it's connected to something ancient, something extraterrestrial." "Extraterrestrial," John repeated, his voice barely a whisper. "You mean aliens?" Lyra sighed, as if this conversation was far from new to her. "Yes, John, aliens. More specifically, a race of beings that have been watching over Earth for centuries. And you, John, are a descendant of that race. You're part of something much larger, something that has been hidden from you until now." John felt like the room was spinning, couldn't wrap his head around it. He had lived his entire life thinking he was just another person, living an average life. But now, everything was changing in the blink of an eye. "So, what does this have to do with me?" he asked, his voice shaking. "Why me? Why not someone else?" Lyra looked away for a moment, her eyes clouded with something like regret. "Because, John, you are the key. You have the potential to unlock something that could change the course of history. Your bloodline holds the answers to a mystery that has been kept hidden for centuries. And that mystery has now caught the attention of forces that want to control it. John's mind raced. Control it. Who would want to control something like that? Lyra hesitated. The very beings who have been watching Earth for millennia. They are not all friendly, John. Some of them want to use your power for their own gain. And that's why I'm here. To protect you. John stared at her, struggling to comprehend what she was saying. This was too much, too insane. But there was something in her eyes, something he couldn't deny. She was telling the truth. He didn't know how, but he could feel it. This wasn't a dream. This was real. I know this is overwhelming, she said softly, but we don't have much time. The others are coming. They've already found out about you, John. And if we don't act fast, everything you know could be destroyed. Swallowed hard. What do we need to do? Lyra took a deep breath, her gaze serious. We need to prepare for what's to come. But first, you need to trust me. Trust that I'm here for a reason. Trust that I won't let anything happen to you. John looked at her, his heart pounding. Didn't know what to think or what to do. But one thing was certain. His life was no longer ordinary. And whatever Lyra had said, it was only the beginning of something far beyond his understanding. Okay, he said quietly. I trust you. And just like that, everything changed. The air in the room grew thick, almost electric, as Lyra's words sank deeper into John's mind. He still couldn't fully comprehend the magnitude of what she was saying. Part of him wanted to laugh it all off as a bizarre dream, but the other, perhaps the part that had always felt a little out of place in the world, was beginning to believe her. Lyra's gaze never wavered, her eyes still filled with that unreadable calmness. She knew something he didn't, something that could shatter everything he thought he knew about himself. The mystery surrounding her, the weight of her revelation, all pressed down on him like a heavy fog. John, Lyra said, her voice softer, now almost like a whisper. What if I told you that everything you've ever known, your family, your life, your past, was just a part of a much larger picture? What if you were part of something far older, far greater than you could ever imagine? John's pulse quickened. What are you talking about? His voice barely sounded like his own. Then, without another word, she reached into the small satchel at her side and pulled out a strange, glowing dross. Device. It was smooth and metallic, almost as if it didn't belong to this world. John's breath caught in his throat. The device hummed with an energy he couldn't explain, soft light flickering like something alive. This, Lyra said, holding the device up to the light, is a key to your past, and to what you are destined to become. John stared at the device, unsure whether to be intrigued or terrified. A key to my past? What do you mean? Lyra stepped closer, her eyes intense. This device can unlock memories buried deep within you. Memories that you've forgotten, or that were hidden from you. It will show you the truth about who you are, where you come from, what your bloodline truly means. John shook his head in disbelief. This is insane. My bloodline. My family has been normal, average people for generations. What are you? Talking about this device, it's not real. Lyra smiled softly as though she had been expecting this response. I know it's hard to believe, but it's real. John, you're connected to an ancient race, a race that has watched over Earth for centuries. And your family, your bloodline, is one of the last remaining traces of that race. John felt a chill run down his spine. He took a step back, his heart pounding in his chest. He had never considered himself special, just a regular guy, working a regular job, living a regular life. The idea that he was somehow connected to an ancient alien race was beyond anything he could grasp. Lyra noticed his hesitation and quickly added, I know this is overwhelming. They've been watching you for a long time. His mind was reeling. Who's been watching me? They're not human, Lyra said, her voice barely above a whisper. They're the same beings who have kept Earth under surveillance for centuries. They know about the bloodline that runs through your veins, and they'll stop at nothing to control it. John's breath caught. You're telling me Aliens have been watching us for centuries? Lyra nodded gravely. Yes, and you're a part of their ancient history. You're connected to a powerful civilization that has been hidden from humanity for thousands of years. You, John, are one of the last descendants of that civilization. John's mind raced, trying to process the information. His head felt heavy with the weight of her words, but deep down, a part of him knew that she wasn't lying. The sense of familiarity, the strange pull toward her, it was all starting to make sense. There was something about her, something about the way she spoke, that made him believe her. But why me? Why now? John asked, his voice breaking slightly. Why didn't anyone tell me about this before? Lyra's expression softened, and she reached out, her hand gently touching his arm. You were hidden for your own protection. The forces that want to control you couldn't know about you until now. Your life, everything you've known, was orchestrated to keep you safe. But now, the time has come for you to remember who you are. The legacy of your ancestors is calling you. John felt his pulse race at the mention of his ancestors. So what am I supposed to do? What's my role in all this? Lyra's lips parted slightly, as if she were weighing her answer. You are the key to something ancient, something that could change the fate of Earth. The beings who are after youth aliens, and they want to use you to unlock the power of your bloodline. But you have a choice, John. You can choose to embrace your legacy, or you can walk away from it all. John felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He couldn't ignore the feeling that his entire life had been leading up to this moment. But the weight of the decision, the responsibility that came with it, was almost too much to bear. You have a mission now, John, Lyra continued, her voice steady. The choice is yours. But know this, the longer you wait, the closer the enemy gets. And if they find you first... She didn't finish her sentence, but the warning was clear. John looked down at the strange device in her hand, the glowing light reflecting in his eyes. He didn't know what was happening, or what he was about to face. But one thing was certain, his life would never be the same again. You need to trust me, John, Lyra said softly, her voice laced with urgency. And together, we'll unlock the power within you. As the weight of her words settled over him, John knew that his journey was only just beginning. No matter what lay ahead, he would have to face it head-on with no turning back. The days that followed were a blur of confusion and discovery. John had barely slept since that first morning. His world had been turned upside down by the alien revelation, and yet there was something strangely calming about Lyra's presence. Despite the chaos swirling around him, she was always there, steadfast, composed, and ready to guide him through the unknown. Each day she revealed more about the ancient race she belonged to. And slowly John began to understand the weight of his legacy, but even more surprising was the growing connection between the man, unspoken bond that neither of them could deny. It wasn't romantic, not in the way he'd expected, but it was deeper, more profound. She was not just his protector anymore. She was becoming his teacher, his confidant, someone who understood him in ways no one else ever could. It started with small moments. She'd explain the alien technology she carried with her, showing him how to operate devices that seemed impossibly advanced. At first, John had struggled to understand, fumbling with the sleek, glowing gadgets as if they were foreign to him. But with every lesson, Lyra's patience never wavered. She'd guide his hands, teaching him not just how to use the technology, but how to unlock the hidden potential within himself. But it wasn't just the physical tools he was learning too. Wield it was his own mind. Lyra showed him how to harness the strange energy that pulsed inside him, the energy that linked him to his ancestors, to the alien blood that flowed through his veins. He could feel it now shimmering just below the surface of his thoughts, a dormant power waiting to be awakened. One evening, after a long day of training, they sat together in the quiet of his apartment. Lyra was teaching him how to focus his energy, her calm voice guiding him through the motions. John sat with his eyes closed, trying to clear his mind. To focus on the invisible power she said was within him. This is where it starts, she said softly. You have to trust yourself. You're not just human anymore, John. You're something more. John opened his eyes, looking at her with a mixture of wonder and uncertainty. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I can. Control it. Lyra smiled, her expression soft, but knowing. You don't have to be ready. You'll never be completely ready. But you will learn. The power is inside you, it's always been there. All I'm doing is helping you remember how to use it. As she spoke, something inside John stirred. It was like a flicker in the back of his mind. Something ancient, something buried deep within. His breath quickened and he felt the energy. The strange power began to flow through him. It wasn't overwhelming, but it was real. He could feel it now, vibrating just beneath the surface of his skin. What is this feeling? Whispered. Lyra's eyes shone with approval. John, that's the power of your ancestors. The energy that connects you to them. You're learning how to tap into it. John exhaled, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. But why me? Why was I chosen for this? Lyra's gaze softened, and she leaned in closer, as if she were about to reveal something personal, because you're the last of your kind, John. You carry the bloodline that can unlock the future. Your connection to the ancient race is the key to what's coming. You're the one who will decide the fate of this world. John swallowed hard, the weight of her words settling in his chest. I don't even know who I am anymore, Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch reassuring. You're still you, John, but you're also more. You're part of something greater than yourself, something that has been waiting for you. The bond between them felt stronger now, almost unbreakable. John could sense that Lyra wasn't just teaching him out of duty. There was something personal in the way she cared for him, something deep. Maybe she saw him as more than just a mission. Maybe in some strange way she had come to rely on him, just as he had come to rely on her. Over the next few days, they spent even more time together, working late into the night, training and learning. Lyra taught him about the ancient civilization, about the powerful artifacts they had left behind, and the dark forces that were closing in. But in between lessons, there was a quiet understanding that had begun to form between them. They would share small moments of silence, exchanging glances that said more than words ever could. There were moments when John felt like he was living in a dream that could shatter at any second. But when he looked at Lyra, when he saw the quiet determination in her eyes, he felt something else. Hope. For the first time since everything had changed, he wasn't afraid of what the future might hold. He wasn't alone anymore. As the days turned into weeks, John grew stronger. He was no longer the confused, frightened man who had woken up to find an alien woman on top of him. He was learning to control his powers, learning to accept his destiny, and in the process, he was forming a bond with the one person who understood it all, Lyra. And though the world outside was still a mystery, John knew one thing for certain. He wasn't just some ordinary guy anymore. He was part of something much larger, something that could change everything. But even as the bond between them grew, the darkness that Lyra had warned him about loomed closer, and John realized that his journey was only just beginning. There would be challenges ahead, forces to fight, and choices to make. But whatever came next, John knew that Lyra would be by his side. Together, they would face whatever the future had in store. It had been weeks since John's world had been turned upside down. In that time, his training had accelerated at an alarming pace. Lyra's lessons had become increasingly difficult, pushing him to unlock more of the strange energy that pulsed inside him. With every new discovery, his control over his powers grew. But so did the weight of the truth. The enemies Lyra had warned him about were getting closer. One evening, as they sat in the dim glow of his apartment, Lyra's eyes were fixed on the window, her face drawn with concern. John had learned to read the subtle changes in her expressions. Her calm, serene demeanor could shift in an instant when danger approached. "Lyra, what's wrong?" John asked, his voice tinged with worry. He could feel it too, that unsettling tension that seemed to hang in the air. Something was off. "They're here," she said quietly, her voice low and steady. "The forces that have been tracking us, they've found us." John's heart skipped a beat. He had heard her mention these enemies before, the ones who wanted to control the power hidden within him, to unlock the potential of his bloodline for their own gain. But hearing it so plainly, hearing her confirm that they were close, made his pulse race. Who are they? What do we do now? John asked, his mind racing. His powers were still new, still untested. He wasn't sure he was ready to face whatever was coming. Lyra stood up, her posture rigid with resolve. They're called the Gelroth. They're an ancient race, older than even the one I belong to. They've been watching Earth for centuries, waiting for someone like you to come into existence. You're the key to unlocking a power they can control, and they won't stop until they have it. John's mind whirled. Gelruth. He had never heard of them before, but from the way Lyra spoke, they were not to be underestimated. So what? Happens now? Are we running? We don't have time to run, Lyra said, her eyes narrowing. We have to fight. But I can't protect you forever, John. You've learned to tap into your powers. But you haven't yet reached your full potential. You need to unlock the rest of it before they do. John's chest tightened. How do I do that? You've been training me, but I still don't feel. I don't feel like I'm ready for this. How can I stop them? Lyra turned to face him. Fully, her expression softened by a mixture of sympathy and determination. You're ready in ways you don't even understand yet. The key is inside you. You just need to believe that you can unlock it. Trust yourself, John. Trust the power that lies within. Before John could respond, a faint hum filled the room. It was distant at first, barely audible, but it grew louder, vibrating through the floor beneath them. Lyra's expression changed, her eyes widening. They're here. We don't have much time. John could feel the urgency in her voice. What do we do? Lyra moved quickly to the window, peering through the blinds. Her hand rested on the edge of the wall, her gaze scanning the streets below. There in the city, they've begun their search. We need to move now. Without another word, she grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the door. John followed her without question, his mind still reeling. What was he supposed to do? Could he possibly fight these ancient beings, these Gelrath, with only the limited knowledge he had gained? As they stepped outside, the city felt different. The air was heavy with tension, and John could feel the weight of unseen eyes on him. It was as though the world had shifted, and he was now the focus of a much larger game. They moved quickly through the quiet streets, Lyra leading the way with a sense of purpose, her movements precise and fluid. But John couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He could almost feel the presence of something, or someone lurking just beyond the shadows. Lyra stopped suddenly, her body going still, like a predator sensing danger. They're close, she whispered, her voice tense. We need to take shelter. Now. They ducked into an alleyway, the cool night air pressing against John's skin. He couldn't help but feel exposed, vulnerable in the open. His pulse quickened as he realized just how unprepared he was. All of his training, all of Lyra's guidance, hadn't prepared him for this moment, the moment when the enemies finally came for him. Lyra's eyes scanned the alley, her gaze sharp. You need to focus, John. This is it. The Gelrath won't stop until they have what they want. You have to be ready to fight back. John clenched his fists, his breath shallow. How do I fight something I can't even see? Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her grip firm. You don't need to see them to fight them. You have the power to sense them. Trust your instincts. Feel the energy around you. They're close, John. And if we don't act fast, they'll take everything from us. John's heart pounded in his chest. This was it. The moment of truth. His power, the power Lyra had been teaching him to unlock, was the only thing standing between him and the Gelroth. Taking a deep breath, he closed his eyes and focused. He felt the energy in the air, a subtle vibration that hummed beneath the surface. And then, just like that, it clicked. The energy surged through him, and he could sense it the presence of the Gelrath, just around the corner. Waiting there, right there, he said, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped him. I can feel them. Lyra's eyes lit up with approval. Good, now, let's make sure they feel you. John stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. He wasn't just an ordinary guy anymore. He was part of something much bigger. He wasn't going to let anyone alien or otherwise take that from him. The city was eerily quiet, as though holding its breath, waiting for something catastrophic to happen. John and Lyra stood side by side in the shadowed alley, their bodies tense, ready to face the unseen threat closing in on them. Every nerve in John's body was on edge, his senses heightened. He could feel the weight of the Gelroth's presence, like a cold, suffocating force pressing against him. "Are you ready?" Lyra's voice was calm, but there was a flicker of urgency behind it. She knew this moment was inevitable. It wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a battle for control of everything that John had come to understand about himself. "I don't know if I am," John confessed, his breath shallow. "I know I can't run from this anymore." Lyra nodded, her gaze softening for a moment. "You're stronger than you realize. Trust yourself, John. You've already unlocked the first step. Now you just need to finish what you started." Suddenly, the air around them shifted, and a chilling presence filled the alley. The Gelrath had arrived. John could feel them, three figures materialized from the shadows, their forms shimmering and indistinct, like they were barely tethered to this world. They were tall, their skin translucent, with a faint, eerie glow. Their eyes, or what passed for eyes, were dark voids, empty and endless, like looking into the abyss itself. John's pulse quickened. These beings were not human. They were something far more ancient, far more powerful. But he had come too far to back down now. This was the moment he had been preparing for, whether he felt ready or not. The Gelrath leader, the tallest of the three, took a step forward. "You are the one," the leader's voice echoed, not through sound, but through his mind, a cold, invasive whisper. "You are the key. Surrender yourself, and we will spare the rest of your world." John's heart thudded in his chest. The weight of their words hit him like a physical blow. They knew who he was. They had been searching for him for years. "I'm not surrendering to anyone," John said, his voice strong, even though fear gripped his chest. "You won't take me? Not without a fight?" The Gelrath leader's laugh was hollow, as though it came from a place far beyond this world. "A fight? You're nothing compared to us?" Before John could respond, the Gelrath leader raised a hand, and a blast of energy surged toward him. The air around John shimmered, and without thinking, he raised his own hand. Summoning the strange, pulsing energy that Lyra had helped him unlock, the two forces collided in a blinding flash, sending a shockwave that knocked John off his feet. He hit the ground hard, the world spinning around him. For a moment, he could hear nothing but the ringing in his ears. His vision blurred, and he felt a sharp pain in his chest. Was this it? Was this the end? The Gelrath were too powerful? But then, a voice broke through the haze, a voice that was both calming and commanding. "Get up, John," was Lyra. She had been by his side in an instant, her presence like a shield, strong and unwavering. She pulled him to his feet, and her touch sparked something within him. The energy he had unlocked before flared to life again, this time with greater intensity, as though it had been waiting for this moment. "You are not alone in this," Lyra said, her voice fierce. "They think they can break you, but they don't know who you are. You are part of something ancient. You are not just the Q or the one who will decide the fate of this world." John's chest tightened with a surge of determination. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for everything he had learned, for the future that lay ahead, and for the bond he had formed with Lyra. "Let's finish this," he muttered under his breath. The Gelroth leader raised his hand again, and another wave of energy shot toward John. But this time, John was ready. His body thrummed with power as he raised both arms, channeling the full force of the energy within him. The light from his hands blazed bright, illuminating the dark alley as he pushed against the Gelroth's attack. With a grunt, John poured everything he had into the energy, forcing it to collide with the Gelroth's blast. The shockwave that followed was intense, but this time, John stood firm. His connection to his ancestors, to the bloodline that flowed within him, flared like a burning beacon of power. The Gelroth's energy cracked and splintered, breaking apart under the force of John's will. The leader's expression faltered. For the first time, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. Impossible, he hissed. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes sharp and focused. It's not impossible. This is just the beginning. You underestimated him. With that, the battle intensified. The two remaining Gelroth rushed toward them, but John was no longer the uncertain man he had been. He was becoming something powerful. His energy flowed with an unstoppable force, each strike a manifestation of his ancestors' power. Each movement a step closer to his true potential. Lyra fought alongside him, her own alien strength complementing his, the two of them moving like a single entity, synchronized and unbreakable. The Gelrath were powerful, but their arrogance made them vulnerable. They underestimated the human spirit John's spirit tanned that would be their downfall. As the final Gelroth fell, defeated by the combined power of John and Lyra, the alley grew quiet again. The only sound was their heavy breathing, the adrenaline still coursing through their veins. John stood there, his body trembling from the exertion. But as he looked at Lyra, a sense of relief washed over him. It wasn't over yet, but for the first time since everything had changed, he felt in control. He had done it. He had unlocked the full extent of his power. Together, they had defeated the enemy. You did it, Lyra said, her voice filled with admiration. John nodded, a small smile creeping onto his face. We did it. But even as the Gelrath were vanquished, a deeper, darker question remained. If the Gelrath had been after John, for so long, who else was watching? More importantly, who would come for him next? John and Lyra weren't finished yet. The final battle was just the beginning. The aftermath of the battle left the air still and heavy, the silence around them almost unnatural. The alleyway, once filled with tension and energy, was now empty, silent, save for the occasional rustling of the wind. The Gelrath lay in crumpled heaps, their once pristine forms now broken and lifeless. But even in their defeat, John couldn't shake the feeling that something far bigger, something far more dangerous was still looming on the horizon. As he turned to Lyra, he saw a flicker of something she hadn't shown him before. Her usual calm demeanor had shifted, a shadow of doubt now clouding her eyes. For a brief moment, she seemed distant, as though lost in a thought too heavy to share. Lyra, John asked, his voice tinged with concern. What's going on? You've been quiet since the battle ended. She turned to him, her face a mask of composure, but her eyes betrayed her. There's something I haven't told you, John. Something I've been holding back. John felt a chill run down his spine. What do you mean? After everything we've been through, there's still more? Lyra hesitated for a moment, the weight of her words pressing down on her. The Gelrath weren't the only ones who knew about you. They weren't the only ones who were looking for the key to unlock the power of your bloodline. John's confusion deepened. Then who else is out there? Who else is coming for me? Lyra took a deep breath, her gaze hardening with resolve. There's another faction, a group even more powerful than the Gelrath, far more dangerous. They've been watching you from the shadows for years, waiting for the right moment to strike. And now, they know who you are.
Oh.
John's heart raced. Who are they? And why didn't you tell me about them sooner? They are called the HFY, Lyra said, her voice steady, despite the gravity of the words. They are the ancient rulers of the alien race I belong to. They control a vast empire, and their influence stretches across the galaxies. They were the ones who originally sought to control the power of your bloodline. But they never counted on the Gelrath, nor did they count on you. John's mind reeled. The HFY, an empire that spanned galaxies? The scope of the danger was unimaginable, and yet it was right here, right in front of him. He had spent his entire life thinking he was just a normal guy, living an average existence. Now he was standing at the crossroads of an intergalactic power struggle. Why didn't you tell me about them? John asked, his voice shaking with frustration and fear. Why wait until now? Lyra lowered her gaze, her voice softer now, almost regretful. Because I wasn't sure you were ready. I didn't know if you could handle the truth. You've come a long way, John, but there's more to this than just defeating the Gelrath. The HFY will stop at nothing to get to you, and once they do, they'll use you to unlock the power you carry inside. John's stomach twisted, and if they do, what happens then? They'll use your bloodline to awaken the ancient. weapon hidden within the core of the galaxy. A weapon that could change the balance of power forever. The Ish'Aral have always believed that the bloodline of your ancestors holds the key to ultimate control. If they succeed in using you, the galaxy will fall under their rule. John's mind was a storm of thoughts and emotions. He couldn't even begin to imagine what this weapon could be, but the idea of the Ish'Aral controlling it was unthinkable. But why me? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Why does it have to be me? I don't want any part of this. I never asked for this power. Lyra's eyes softened, her expression filled with understanding. I know, John. I know you never asked for this. But the truth is, your bloodline is a gift and a curse. It's been hidden for centuries, protected for a reason. And now it's up to you to decide whether you will use it to stop the Ish'Aral or let them control it. John swallowed hard, the weight of his destiny settling on his shoulders like a leaden cloak. He had never imagined that his life would be shaped by alien forces, by ancient legacies, by galactic empires. But here he was, standing at the crossroads of a universe that he had only just begun to understand. You have a choice, John, Lyra said, her voice steady. You can continue to run from your destiny, or you can fight to protect everything you've ever known. Know this, whatever you choose, there's no turning back. John felt the weight of her words, and for the first time, he realized that the power inside him wasn't just a tool for survival, it was a weapon that could either save or destroy everything. He looked out at the quiet city around them, feeling the pull of something far greater than himself. The world he had known was gone, replaced by a reality he couldn't escape. His bloodline, his legacy, it was all tied to something much larger. And now he had to decide how he would face it. As he turned to face Lyra, his eyes locked with hers. I'm not running anymore. I'll fight. But I need to know everything. I need to understand what's at stake. Lyra nodded, her expression resolute. Then it's time you learn the truth. Everything I've been holding back. Time for you to know it all. And with that, John realized that the story he had been living was only a small part of a much larger saga that would decide the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The final twist was yet to come, and this was only the beginning.